one morning, as I sat by the window with my usual cup of black coffee, something hit me. It wasn't dramatic. It was quiet, like most truths are at this age. I looked out at the trees, the same ones I've seen for years, and I realized the things that were really hurting my health weren't the big scary ones. They weren't heart attacks or hospital visits or dramatic falls. No, it was the small things, the tiny daily habits that felt harmless, the ones that became routine, the ones I never questioned. But slowly, quietly, they were stealing my strength, my clarity, and my peace of mind. You see, after 65, our bodies start speaking a different language, but most of us never learned how to listen. We say, "I'm just tired today," or "It's normal at this age," or "It's probably nothing." But sometimes it is something, and often it's the things we do or don't do every single day that make the biggest difference. So in this video, I want to talk to you like I'd talk to an old friend. No lectures, no fear, just a real conversation. I'm going to walk you through 9 everyday habits that quietly damage your health after the age of 65. I know because I've lived them. I've seen the consequences in myself and in the people I love. The good news is, we can fix them. Gently, one step at a time. Habit number 1, skipping breakfast or eating too little. I'll be honest with you. For years, I thought skipping breakfast was no big deal. Sometimes I'd just sip on a cup of coffee until lunch. I told myself I wasn't hungry, that I didn't need to eat early. And if I'm being even more honest, part of me felt like I was doing something healthy by not eating too much. But here's the truth I wish I had known sooner. After 65, your body needs a steady source of fuel in the morning, more than ever before. You're not the same person you were at 40, or even 55. And pretending that your body doesn't change with time is one of the most dangerous things you can do. Skipping breakfast, or having nothing more than a cracker and a coffee, doesn't just leave you a little tired. It can lead to serious consequences over time. I didn't connect the dots back then, but I started noticing that I was more forgetful in the mornings. I'd lose my train of thought mid-sentence. I felt slower, even clumsier. I chalked it up to age, but much of it was blood sugar imbalance, plain and simple. Your brain depends on glucose to function, and when you don't eat in the morning, especially after a long night of fasting, you're starving your brain. That's why so many seniors who skip breakfast also experience dizziness, confusion, low energy, and mood swings. It's not just in your head, it's in your chemistry. Now, I'm not saying you need a big Southern breakfast with bacon, pancakes, and gravy every morning. In fact, heavy meals can be tough on the digestion after 65. What I'm talking about is nourishment. Simple, real nourishment. A slice of whole grain toast with peanut butter, a hard-boiled egg, and a handful of blueberries. A warm bowl of oatmeal with nuts and cinnamon. Something that gives your body protein, fiber, and healthy fats to start the day. When I made this change, the difference was incredible. I had more energy before noon. My mood evened out. I could think more clearly. I didn't crash at 2 p.m. the way I used to. So, if you're in the habit of skipping breakfast or just nibbling on something small out of routine, I want to gently challenge you. Try giving your body something real in the morning. Not because someone told you to, but because you deserve to feel good. You deserve the clarity, the strength, and the stability that a real breakfast brings. And maybe, just maybe, you'll feel the shift too. Like your body is finally saying, "Thank you for listening." Habit number 2, sitting for long periods without moving. Let me paint a familiar picture for you. I used to wake up, make a cup of coffee, sit in my recliner, turn on the television, and stay there for hours. A few old westerns, the news, maybe a documentary or two. Before I knew it, half the day was gone. My legs would feel stiff. My back would ache. I'd groan a little getting up and tell myself, That's just what happens with age. But here's the part no one told me. It wasn't age. It was the sitting. And it was slowly hurting me in ways I didn't realize. Sitting for long periods, especially without moving at all, can lead to serious health problems for older adults. And I'm not just talking about stiff joints. I'm talking about weakened leg muscles, poor circulation, increased risk of blood clots, back pain, and even heart issues. There's a reason doctors now refer to sitting as the new smoking. It's that serious. And here's the thing, it doesn't feel dangerous. It feels comfortable. It feels familiar. You're resting. You're not hurting anyone. You're not doing anything wrong. But day after day, week after week, this habit can quietly take away your mobility, your balance, and even your independence. I didn't notice it at first. But one day I tried to get up quickly to answer the door, and I nearly lost my balance. My legs felt like they belonged to someone else. That was the wake-up call I needed. Now, I'm not saying you need to sign up for a dance class or jog around the block, but your body needs movement. Gentle, regular, intentional movement. Here's what helped me. I set a little timer on my phone or microwave. Every 30 to 45 minutes, I'd stand up. I'd stretch. I'd walk to the kitchen and back. I'd go check the mailbox, even if there was nothing in it. I'd walk circles around the house. It doesn't sound like much, but that movement reminds your body, hey, we're still in this together. Over time, the stiffness went down. My balance improved. I felt more connected to my body again. And here's a little secret, it also lifted my mood. Moving even a little bit helps your brain release chemicals that fight anxiety and depression. Movement isn't just about muscles. It's about mental clarity and emotional well-being too. So if you find yourself sitting for hours without getting up, I want to gently invite you to try something different. Set a timer. Get up every 40 minutes. Stretch your arms. March in place. Whatever you can manage. Your body and your future self will thank you. Habit number 3, not drinking enough water. I used to think that if I wasn't thirsty, I didn't need to drink. It made sense to me at the time. Why force water if I wasn't feeling dry? But what I didn't understand, until I landed in the emergency room one summer, is that thirst isn't always reliable after 65. As we age, our bodies don't send the same clear signals. You can be dehydrated and not even know it, and that can lead to all kinds of trouble. One afternoon, I started feeling dizzy and confused. I thought it was my blood sugar. Then I thought maybe I hadn't eaten enough. But it turned out I was dehydrated, severely. My body was running on empty, and I had no idea. Dehydration in older adults is common, and it can be dangerous. It can cause fatigue, brain fog, constipation, urinary tract infections, and in more serious cases, kidney problems and confusion that mimics dementia. But here's the good news. It's also one of the easiest habits to fix, if you know how to spot it. The key is to be proactive, not reactive. Don't wait until you're thirsty. Make drinking water a regular part of your day. I keep a glass on the kitchen counter and one in the living room. I sip throughout the day, not just at meals. If plain water is hard for you, herbal teas are great. Even water-rich foods like cucumbers, watermelon, and soups can help. What surprised me was how quickly I started to feel better. My mind felt sharper. My digestion improved. I didn't feel as tired by mid-afternoon. It was like a fog had lifted, and all I did was drink more water. Now I aim for 6 to 8 cups a day. Not all at once, just small, steady sips. I even got one of those silly water bottles with the markings that show how much you've had. And you know what? It works. So if you're listening to this and realizing you might not be drinking enough, start today. Pour yourself a glass of water right now. Your brain, your heart, your joints, and even your skin will thank you. Because staying hydrated isn't just about avoiding problems. It's about feeling good, And at this stage in life, we deserve to feel as good as possible every single day. Habit number 4, over-relying on painkillers. There was a time in my life when I couldn't go a day without reaching into the cabinet for a painkiller. Tylenol, ibuprofen, aspirin, you name it, I had it. My back would ache, my knees would throb, and without thinking, I'd take a couple of pills and move on with my day. It felt harmless. In fact, it felt responsible. I was managing my pain, staying active, keeping things moving. Or so I thought. But over time, I started noticing other things. My stomach felt off more often. I was more tired than usual. At one routine checkup, my doctor looked at my kidney function and raised a red flag. That's when I learned something I wish I had known years earlier. Overusing painkillers, especially as we get older, can quietly do real harm. Our bodies metabolize medications differently after 65. The same pill that worked fine when we were 50 can put stress on our liver and kidneys now. Long-term use of over-the-counter pain relievers can lead to stomach ulcers, internal bleeding, high blood pressure, and kidney damage. And here's the tricky part. Pain itself is exhausting. When you're hurting, all you want is relief. So it becomes a cycle. You take the pills to keep going, but the pills wear you down in other ways. And often, we don't connect the dots until something goes wrong. Now, I'm not saying you should never take medication. Pain is real, and sometimes pills are necessary. But the key is balance, and knowing that pills should be the last resort, not the first instinct. What helped me break the habit was learning to listen to my body instead of silencing it. I started with small things, stretching in the morning, using a heating pad instead of a pill, adding turmeric and anti-inflammatory foods to my diet. I looked into gentle yoga, physical therapy, and breathing exercises. These things didn't make the pain disappear overnight, but they helped me manage it without putting my organs at risk. And maybe most importantly, I learned to ask for help. I used to think I had to tough it out on my own, but my doctor helped me explore safer alternatives. Sometimes that meant adjusting my posture. Sometimes it meant strengthening muscles to take pressure off the joints. But every little step gave me back a piece of control. If you're like I was, reaching for painkillers day after day, I encourage you to pause and ask yourself, is this helping me long-term or just getting me through the day? Your body deserves care, not just quick fixes. And sometimes, the best healing starts with the simplest change, choosing to treat the cause, not just the symptom. Habit number 5, isolating yourself socially. I want to share something that's hard to admit. After my wife passed, I stopped going out. I didn't want to talk to people. I told myself I was just taking time to grieve, and in many ways, I was. But days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. I found myself eating alone, watching TV alone, and sleeping more than usual. I wasn't just grieving, I was disappearing. I didn't realize it at the time, but I had slipped into a kind of social isolation. And it wasn't just affecting my mood, it was slowly affecting my health, my memory, and even my sense of purpose. As human beings, we're wired for connection. That doesn't change just because we get older. In fact, studies now show that loneliness can be just as harmful to your health as smoking or obesity. It raises your risk for heart disease, depression, anxiety, and even cognitive decline. But when you're older, it's easy to drift into isolation without noticing. Friends move away, family gets busy, people we love pass on, and before you know it, you're spending more time alone than with others. Not by choice, but by default. What helped me begin to climb out of that space wasn't anything dramatic. It was small. I called an old friend I hadn't spoken to in years. We talked about nothing in particular, just laughed a little. And after that call, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Alive. I started making it a habit to call one person a day. Just one. Some days it was a family member. Some days it was someone from church. I joined a local walking group, even though I didn't know anyone there. And slowly, piece by piece, the loneliness started to lift. You don't have to be the life of the party. You don't need to be surrounded by people all day long. But you do need connection. Real, human, heartfelt connection. Someone to check in on you. Someone to laugh with. Someone to remind you that your life still matters. So if you've been keeping to yourself more than usual, I want to say this gently. It's time to reach out, even if it's just one call, one visit, one lunch. You are not a burden. You are not forgotten. You are still needed. Let someone in. Let the world back in, because the longer we wait, the harder it gets, and the more we lose without even knowing it. Habit number 6, neglecting strength training. I used to believe that walking was enough. I'd take a 30-minute stroll around the block and pat myself on the back. That counts as exercise, I'd say. And to be fair, it is exercise. Walking is wonderful for the heart, the lungs, and the mind. But there's something walking alone doesn't do. It doesn't build strength. And after the age of 65, strength is exactly what we need most. I learned this the hard way after a fall. Nothing dramatic. I slipped on a rug in the hallway. But when I tried to catch myself, my arms didn't have the strength. I went down hard and the recovery took months. That fall made me realize my muscles had been fading little by little without me noticing. It's called sarcopenia, and it's a natural part of aging. After 65, we lose muscle mass more rapidly, especially if we don't actively work to maintain it. The scary part is, it doesn't just affect how strong we feel. It affects our balance, mobility, and independence. And yet, most older adults skip strength training completely. We think it's for younger people, or we imagine we need fancy gym equipment. But the truth is, we can maintain and even build strength at any age, with just a few simple regular movements. I started by doing leg lifts while brushing my teeth. Then I added a few gentle squats, holding onto the kitchen counter. Eventually, I got a pair of light resistance bands and started doing arm curls while watching TV. Nothing intense, just enough to remind my muscles, hey, we're still here, we still matter. And let me tell you, the difference has been amazing. I feel more stable. I move with more confidence. I'm not afraid of small hills or stairs, and emotionally, I feel stronger too, because strength in the body gives strength in the mind. If you haven't started strength training yet, it's never too late. You don't need a gym. You don't need weights. You just need a few minutes, a few times a week. Talk to your doctor, find a safe routine, and start slow. Because every bit of strength you build now is strength that helps you stay independent, steady, and free. And that, my friend, is worth every second. Habit number 7, eating too much processed food. For years, my freezer was stocked with quick and easy meals, frozen dinners, microwavable snacks, canned soups. I told myself it was practical. After all, I wasn't feeding a family anymore. I didn't want to cook a full meal for one person. And besides, those meals weren't terrible. They said low fat, heart healthy, even made with real ingredients. But slowly, I started to notice things I couldn't explain. My energy dipped in the afternoon. I felt bloated after meals. My blood pressure was creeping up, and my doctor mentioned something about sodium levels being too high. I brushed it off until I started reading the labels more carefully. What I found shocked me. Many processed foods are loaded with salt, sugar, preservatives, and chemicals that the body, especially an aging body, struggles to process. Even foods that seem harmless, like deli meats or canned vegetables, often contain more sodium in one serving than we should have all day. And it's not just about numbers. These foods can cause inflammation, disrupt digestion, increase cholesterol, and spike blood pressure. I was feeding my body what felt convenient, but not what it truly needed. It wasn't until I made a few small changes that I saw the difference. I started preparing simple meals with whole ingredients: a baked sweet potato, a piece of grilled salmon, a salad with olive oil and lemon. I replaced salty snacks with fresh fruit and nuts. Nothing fancy, just fresh, real food. Within weeks, I noticed something amazing. My digestion improved. My energy returned. I slept better. And most importantly, I felt clearer, like a fog had lifted. I didn't realize how much the food I was eating was affecting how I felt until I stopped eating so much of the processed stuff. Now, I'm not saying you have to cut everything out. I still enjoy the occasional treat, and some days I do heat up a frozen meal. But the key is balance and awareness. If most of your meals come from boxes or cans, your body might be quietly struggling to keep up. Try switching just one meal a day to something fresh. Add a few more colors to your plate. Choose foods with ingredients you can pronounce. Your body will notice. And trust me, so will your mind and spirit. Habit number 8. Poor sleep routine. For most of my life, I was proud of being a light sleeper. I could get by on 5 or 6 hours and still function. Even into my 60s, I'd stay up late watching TV or reading, fall asleep in the recliner, and wake up groggy the next morning. I thought that was just how it was. We sleep less as we age, people would say. So I accepted it. But what I didn't realize is that it wasn't just about how much sleep I was getting. It was about the quality of that sleep and the habits surrounding it. And poor sleep, even in small doses, was quietly affecting my mood, memory, and overall health. The truth is, sleep becomes more fragile with age. Our bodies still need 7 to 8 hours of rest, but we have to work harder to get it. Hormones shift. Light exposure matters more. Even late-night snacking can throw off the whole system. I started noticing I was more irritable during the day. I'd forget where I put things. My motivation dropped. I blamed it on getting older, but once again, it was my habits doing the damage, so I made a few changes. And they made all the difference. First, I created a simple bedtime routine, something I hadn't done since I was a kid. I turned off screens an hour before bed. I dimmed the lights. I made myself a cup of herbal tea, chamomile with a little honey. I read a few pages of something gentle and inspiring. And I went to bed at the same time each night, even on weekends. It wasn't magic, but slowly I started falling asleep faster. I woke up less during the night. And in the mornings, I felt rested, not just awake. Sleep is like medicine for the brain. It helps us heal, process emotions, and stay sharp. And when we don't get enough of it, or we get it in the wrong way, we start to lose our edge. If you're tossing and turning or waking up exhausted even after a full night, I encourage you to take a look at your routine. Maybe it's the caffeine too late in the day. Maybe it's falling asleep to the TV. Maybe it's stress you haven't processed. Whatever it is, your body is trying to tell you something. Listen, because at this stage of life, we deserve deep rest, the kind that restores not just the body, but the soul. Habit number 9, ignoring small symptoms. There was a time I ignored almost every small symptom I had. Achy feet? Probably just old age. A little swelling in the ankles? Maybe I stood too long. Mild chest discomfort? Must be gas. I didn't want to be dramatic. I didn't want to bother the doctor over something minor. But here's the truth. I had to face the hard way. Ignoring small symptoms can lead to big problems. One day, I noticed a little numbness in my fingers. It would come and go. I figured I'd slept funny. But after a few weeks, it got worse. By the time I saw a doctor, it turned out to be a circulation issue that could have been managed much earlier. And I'm not alone. So many people our age brush off the signs. We don't want to seem weak. We don't want bad news. Or we just assume that feeling lousy is part of getting older. But there's a big difference between aging and declining. Small symptoms are your body's way of whispering that something needs attention. And the older we get, the more important it is to listen to those whispers before they become shouts. That ache that won't go away. That shortness of breath. That lingering fatigue. That sudden change in appetite or sleep. These are not things to ignore. They may be nothing, but they could be something. And early action often means easier treatment, fewer complications, and better outcomes. Now, I keep a little notebook on my kitchen counter. When something feels off, I write it down. If it's still there a few days later, I bring it up with my doctor. No shame, no fear, just honesty. It's not about becoming paranoid. It's about being proactive. Because here's what I know now. Your body is always trying to protect you. Every symptom is a signal. And when you pay attention to the small things, you give yourself the best shot at staying healthy for the long haul. You are not being a burden by speaking up. You are being wise. You are being responsible. And most of all, you are choosing to take care of the only body you've got.